recording. Okay, now the session is being recorded. Okay, whatever you say can be, no. Okay, so I'm going to start right now with just getting a little bit of idea of where everyone is with using Microsoft Word. We'll start with Word and then we'll go to PowerPoint. We cannot obviously cover all the features of Word or PowerPoint today because we have only 1.5 hours for Word and an equal amount of time for PowerPoint. But what I later realized is that a lot of things you do in PowerPoint are also similar to Word. So we will utilize maybe a little bit more time with Word and then carry over features that are the same in PowerPoint as Word. We won't cover them again. Okay. So about an hour and a half to hour 45 on Word and then the rest on PowerPoint. So to get started, I hope everyone has a laptop with you and Microsoft Word with you installed. If you don't have the desktop version, at least if you have the web version, that is good. Now keep in mind, version is a stripped down version of the desktop version. So when we go over certain content, if you don't find that in your toolbar or if you don't find that, it's okay. It's because you're using the web version. Is there anyone here who is today using Google Drive, meaning using Google Docs? Nobody? Okay. Oh, you're using Google Docs. Okay. So you should be able to follow through most of the things. Again, Google Docs is again one step down below Microsoft Office in terms of certain features. But at the same time, there are some things in Google Docs that's not there in Word and vice versa. But since Word is used generally as the productivity tool in most corporations and most universities, we will stick to using Microsoft Word. Okay. Now let's do a show of hands just to see where your knowledge level of Word is. That way I can cater the presentation based on where you all are. Now, if there's someone who's an expert at something, that's good. But if someone there's a beginner, then let's try to accommodate the beginners as well. And beginner, but still, let's try to accommodate everyone into this class session. Okay. So with Word, basic formatting. How many of you know how to at least open a Word document and type in it and do basic formatting? And by basic formatting, please raise your hands if you're good at that. Basic formatting would include, doing bold, italic, underline, things like changing your font. Okay. The sub next level of formatting is paragraph formatting. How many of you are familiar with paragraph formatting? And that means, justifying, line spacing, things like that. Okay, you're all good with that. The next level to that is style cascading. How many of you used style sheeting in Word? Style sheeting means you have inbuilt styles in Word. And how many of you use those styles to format your document? No one? Okay. That's fine. If you haven't used it, that's fine. Styles is a very important thing that we do in Word, and it makes your life so much easier, especially when you have very long documents and you sometimes have to change formatting. If you use what's called a style editor, it makes your formatting much more easier. Okay, the next set of features is how many of you are familiar with breaks, like page break, section break, continuous breaking, some familiarity? Okay. If you don't know how to use breaks, that's okay. That's another very useful thing that we use. What about column formatting in Word? Like how to do multi-column formatting in Word? No? Okay, good. That means I can spend some time on that. Header footers. How many of you know how to insert a header, insert a footer, and play around with header footers? Okay, some level over here. Next one is page layout. How many of you know how to do page layouts? And page layout means how to adjust margin sizes, how to adjust orientation. And if you're using the desktop version of Word, how do you go, let's say, from one page in a portrait format to the next page in landscape format, and then go back to portrait format? Anyone used the features like that? No. Okay, now the reason I want to specify things like this is, as someone who went through schooling as well, I know how when you format technical reports and documents, sometimes you need to put a plot or a chart into your document, and you can't put it in a portrait format. You want to shift it over to landscape. But then when you do that, you should have to make sure that the rest of the document does not change along with it. So there's a way to do that. So layouting. And last, one of the important things I want to cover is how to use references and cross-references. Cross-references includes how to include captions, how to reference captions, how to include a table of contents, Now, you may have used table of contents, but how many of you have used automatically how to generate table of contents in your document? Anybody has used those features? Okay, no. Now, again, so generally, people who use Word, what I've seen as a general practice is, or not a practice, but behavior is that we tend to use maybe 10% of the features actually available in the program. Okay. My background of why I have used a lot of Word is my first job out of college. I worked for a software company, and our job in that one of the jobs projects I worked was we developed simulation software for Microsoft products. So our team had to develop a simulation software that completely replicated Word exactly how it looked and felt, except the difference was that anytime a student would go in there and let's say this question would be type a sentence and apply bold. And as soon as they type it and they apply bold, it recognizes, okay, this is a correct thing that they did, and they grade them for that. So you can't do that with Word. So we had to create a simulation environment. And that is how I learned a lot about Word, and likewise other Office products as well. So we'll start today. And again, like I said, follow at your own pace. If something is going too fast and you want me to repeat it over again, I'll be more than happy to do that. Uh, I tend to go by the tabs that you have on the top. And let me share the document right now that we will work with. So what I want all of you to do is open up your Microsoft Word and just open a blank document. Any blank document that has got nothing in it. And let me know when everyone is ready with a blank document. And if you're using a web version, same thing. You will just open a web-based version. It'll open a new tab with a document in it. So first thing I'm going to do is I just need some text. So I'm going to go in here and add some text in there. And let me do a couple more things. So I'm going to take a generic website, okay? Let's say bbc.com. It's a favorite news site I like to go to. And I'm going to copy some text from, let's say, one of their articles and paste that in here. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to paste. And you can see that it's pasted stuff in format. It does not include a lot of things that I wanted to come in there. But the reason I'm showing you all this is to see, how you can actually properly copy content from one place to another. So as I go through these features in Word, let me know if you want me to spend some more time on any of them. We'll start with basic formatting. In basic formatting, you take any text that you have and you have your font palette. Zoom in. I can zoom on the document. Is that what you want? On the taskbar, let's see, I might have to change screen resolution to do that. Okay, give me 1 second, let me get that on here. This is better? Okay, all right. Okay, so your basic editor that you have with your font is bold, italic, underline. Wait a second. I don't know why it changed back. Okay, you have bold, italics, underlined, cross through, subscripting, superscripting. All these is familiar to all of you. So we'll skip over those portions. The next is paragraph formatting. You're familiar with the basic paragraph formatting, right? Okay, let's start with paragraph formatting. Again, how we can apply this. So I will take a set of this text over here and I'll just create 2 paragraphs out of it. Let's start with this. And over here, I'm going to create this as a new paragraph. This is visible to everyone, right? Both this. Okay. Now you can see here, this is a generic text that I put in there. Let's start by basic formatting. Let's say I want to, this is all right now left aligned. So you can see the left align in there. Center aligning puts everything in the center as obvious, but it's not good for general text because no one uses center align for text. If you write in Arabic or any right to left language, you would use right formatting as well. So let's keep it as left formatting. Now, for general documents, it's always cleaner to use what's called justified formatting. So you will see an icon over here that's got straight lines. That's basically the justified format. So you can notice how the text gets rearranged to where everything is fitting within the margins right now. So that's justification. And this is a more cleaner format, especially for printing, presentations, when you do your school reports, work reports. A more cleaner look is a justified report. Okay. So we have right now done justification. So the next thing is line spacing. Now, I've seen school reports where the teachers, especially in Angels classes, I've seen the teacher will specify use 1.5 line spacing or use 2 line spacing. It means that when you go here, you'll see this thing called line paragraph spacing. Click on it, and then you have the option to pick what kind of spacing you want. So if I, for example, picked with a 1 line spacing, that's the default spacing. That means 1 line after the other. But you can see how the text becomes more compact, right? Now, you also have an option to change. I think Microsoft Word right now uses the default of 1.15 because somehow someone came up with that number saying that was visually more pleasing. So if you, for example, use Google Docs, for example, you may not see a 1.15 number in there. They have like 1, 1.52, and so on. So if I say use 2, you can see how the line spacing increases. And kids, you can use this as a way to increase your page count. Because sometimes teachers say, turn in 5 pages of report. Sure, make everything 2 line, and then everything is, you can make a 2-page report into a 5-page report. Okay. So let's go back and try some other options. You can see 3, for example, makes it very big to the point where it becomes unpleasant to actually read. It's not properly formatted. You can obviously go and change your own options as well. Let's say I go back to say 1, okay, and then I go to line spacing options. Now here you see line spacing. Now you can specify over here how much line spacing you want to use. Like you can put a number which goes by point size, and I believe you can even come less than 1. So if I say it's 0.5 right now, see how everything got compacted. Now, obviously, this does not look good for this font selection and this style selection. So you don't want to use something like that. But there are some cases, depending on the type of font, you might want to do something like that. So I'll come back to line spacing of 1. Okay. Okay, so now you're familiar with line spacing. We've got justification of done. Next thing we want to learn is paragraph spacing. So you notice that when I put this paragraph and the next paragraph, there is a default space in between this, right? Now, if let's say I copy the next set of text, let's say I go here and I'm going to copy this text over here. Okay. If I'm here and I inserted that thing again, what happens? You'll see that it again inserted that default space in there. So somewhere Word knows that, okay, this is my default spacing between paragraphs. You can change that. The way you change that is you go to paragraph. You can either click on this icon you see. Now you notice that all these tabs over here have got this little icon, which is like an arrow and a little box. What that means is if you click on that, it will open up extra features related to that feature of Word. Okay. An example is, let's say I was in this paragraph, and in font, I can do my basic formatting. I can highlight the text background. I can highlight the text color. But let's say there's some other things I want to do. I can go in here and you can see I can do double strike through if I want. So that's not shown here in the toolbar, but if you open up this dialog box, you can add additional features that you want. So the same thing, I'm going to come here to paragraph. And in paragraph, you will see that there is something called spacing over here. Now, we used default spacing, which was the 1.5 spacing. But in addition to that, you'll see there's something called before and after. Okay. So what this before and after means is that that's the default space that will be applied to a paragraph before the paragraph and after the paragraph. Now, the number is up to you. I mean, you want to pick what you want to do. Now, by default, Word gives you 0 points and 8 points. That means that before your paragraph, there is no space, but after your paragraph, it will automatically insert 8 points of space. Okay. Now, if I change this and made this also, let's say I can make it 8 over here. And I say, okay, you'll notice how some space got created on the top as well, right? Now, because I selected only that paragraph, that spacing applied only to that paragraph, okay? I can close this. Now, if I come to this paragraph and I can click anywhere in the paragraph, I don't have to select the paragraph. Just click anywhere in it and you click on paragraph. What does it say? It goes back to 0 and 8 because I didn't select that paragraph as part of my. Now, you can imagine, okay, you can go here and click, okay, I'm going to do 8 here. I'm going to do 8 here. So what it does is it has created that certain spacing in there. Now, it's tedious to go to each and every paragraph and try to do this. The two ways that you can go around this, I did an undo over here. You can select all of your text. Okay. Select all of your text, go and give a spacing in there and say okay. And you see now all your paragraphs got changed accordingly. Okay. Now, what if you had pages of documents, right? You want to go and keep doing page. You can't go to every page and keep doing this over and over again. If you had a limited number of paragraphs, let's say in this one, I put this as now left justify, and these two paragraphs are using center justification. I want to use the exact same formatting that I have over here in this paragraph, but I'm okay with skipping this paragraph. I don't want that paragraph to follow the same formatting. And just to make things a little more easier to notice, I'm going to apply, let's say, a bold over here, and I'm going to apply this color over here. Okay, and line spacing, I'm going to apply a 1.5 line spacing. All right. Now I would like this paragraph to have exactly what I did over there. Normally, what would you do? You'd come here, you'd select this paragraph, you'd go in, click on the color font, click on bold, go back and do all the steps that you did for the previous paragraph. You can save yourself a lot of trouble by using what's called a format painter. Okay. If you select this paragraph, or you can even select the entire text, on the very front over here, you see an option that's generally used for cut, copy, paste. Okay. But you see there's an icon over here called Format Painter. It's one of the most powerful tools in Word that not many people use as well. So Format Painter, it shows a brush, which means it's as equivalent as taking a brush, dipping it in something and applying the same thing elsewhere. So let's say I select the text over here. I click on Format Painter. I can come over here and you see how the icon has now changed. It has a brush next to the typing caret. I go and select my entire text over here that I want to change it to. And there you go. It changed everything exactly like how it was in the other paragraph. Okay. Now, if I come over here now and I change this to, let's say, green color text, it's not going to change this. Okay. Because although you applied formatting from one to another, there's no relationship between the two that, okay, this paragraph has to follow the same formatting as that paragraph. So you're still going to have this in blue. Okay. But there's a way that you can do that as well. You can have, if you change in one place, it'll change everywhere throughout the document. And we're going to see that next. So I'll go back to how we were in the default. Okay. So we now went through line spacing options. I want to see if there's anything else I missed over here. Okay, next is indentation. So indentation is when you need to create a first line space on, let's say, on a paragraph. Okay. So the easiest way to do that is you come to the start of the paragraph and press the tab button. The tab button is the one right above your caps lock. You press the tab button once, it creates a default spacing in there. Okay. And the default spacing in Word it's 0.5 points. So if you see you can see the scale on the top. Now, how many of you don't see the scale on the top? You don't see the scale? Okay. So there is a way to bring that. If you go to view, go to the view tab. And on the very top, you see something called a ruler. So click on the ruler. And if you're using the web version, I'm not sure if ruler shows up. But if you click on the ruler, now you'll be able to see that. Okay. Ruler is very useful, especially if you want to see the position of where certain things are. All right. So I'll go back over here. Now you can see that I have a tab creator here. The default tab moves it by 0.5. If I click the tab one more time, it keeps pushing everything a little more further out. But let's say that now I created this and you see by default, it moved the first line 0.5, but the second line also moved along with it, which means that the trailing lines in the paragraph. So how do I change that? How do I change everything else to come back to the start of the line, but I just want the first line to be pushed out? That's where you use these two sliders. Okay, so you select your text and you want to change just this paragraph. I want to move all of this back to the starting. So you just click on it, don't let go of your mouse, and then drag it to where you want the position to be. So I click on that, move it back over here, and that makes the text move along with it. Okay. Now, if I go to my paragraph editor over here, what I just changed right now can also be edited through a dialog option. So if you go on the very bottom of your paragraph, you see something called tabs over here. Okay. Click on the tabs, and this will now tell you what is the default tab position. And if you added any extra tabs, it will give you information that are here. So let's say I change this from 0.5 to 1, and I say OK. That means now the next time I come in and I add a tab, you see that instead of moving to the 0.5 position, it moved it by default to the 1 position. Okay. Now, you may ask, why do I care about all these features? There are certain writing styles. For example, kids might be aware there's an MLA, for example, writing guide. There's what's the other one? APA writing guide. Each of these writing guides have got different rules on how you need to format your document. Okay. So when you follow, for example, the MLA format, it tells you exactly how much space needs to be. So when you set your default in your document, the document's formatted to that MLA standard. Okay. All right. So going back now, so we did tabs as well. Again, when I'm doing some of these features, I may not necessarily go through certain things. For example, there's a first line indent and what's called a hanging indent. Anyone know the difference between first line indent and hanging indent? Okay, one or two people know. First line, the name is obvious. Only your first line moves ahead. Okay. And hanging indent, on the other hand, if I come over here and I change this to say hanging indent and I say 0.5, you see what happens is the first line stayed where it is. The rest of the content moved. So that's what the rest of the paragraph is hanging by the first paragraph. That's why it's called a hanging indent. Okay. All right. Now that we have done this much, we're going to come to another thing called style sheeting. Okay. Style sheeting is probably one of the very important features in Word. If you use it correctly, it saves you a lot of trouble in actually working through your document. Okay. So I'll start by showing you what style sheeting is and how you can change style sheeting. If you go to the next section, you see something called styles over here. Okay. And you can open that up. If you click on it here, it opens up this little thing called a styles window. Okay. It may be a floating window for you, or it may be a window that docks in there. But anyway, you can come in here and you can see that, okay, there's a whole bunch of pre-built styles in here. Okay, you can see how it shows how your footer will be, how your header will be, how your normal text is going to be. Okay. So I told you earlier, okay, I would like to keep my normal text, that is this text. I like my normal text to be blue in color. And I would like for it to use a different font. So instead of, let's say, this Aptos, let's pick another font. Let's say Aptos Light. Like you can see there's let's pick something that's distinguishedly different. Okay, let's say that's going to be my text right now. All right. Now, I would like to use this font all across my document as my normal font. My default font has to be this blue ridiculous color with this ridiculous font as well. But there may be situations where you want to you decide, okay, I want to change everything to from 8 point to 9 point. But now I can't go through the entire document, select, change, select, change, select, change. I don't want to do that. What you would do in a case like that is that's where you use what's called style sheeting. So now let's say I have selected my text over here. You can see that around this either in this view, you'll see that something is pre-selected for you. Okay, or in this view over here, you can see that there is something highlighted around normal, right? What that means is that the normal style is now selected. Now I want the normal style to change. I want everything to be this blue color with this bold text. So what I would do is I would right click on this and just say update normal to match section, which means that wherever my cursor was right now, whatever style was used by that paragraph, make that the normal for me. So if I click on that, you'll see that everything in my document changed automatically. Okay. Now you can obviously go back to individual paragraphs and you can change. Like I can go back to here, make that Aptos. I can change it back to automatic. All that's fine. But keep in mind that at any point, if you go back and edit your normal format, let's say I go here and instead of saying update normal, I want to modify this. Okay, I'm going to modify this. I'm going to say instead of blue, I will pick a green color. And I say okay. When I say okay, what's going to happen? Can anyone tell me what's going to happen next? What is going to change in the document? What will change? The text, something will change green, but which will change to green? There are 3 paragraphs right now there. Which one will change to green? The last. Is that what you said? Last. Okay. Any other? All 3. Okay. Let's see what happens. I say, okay. What ended up happening? The ones that I had specifically applied that normal formatting, that got changed to green. Now here, I overrode that style because I selected the text and I changed it from what was in the normal format to something that I wanted. So it skipped the formatting for that one. Okay. Now, if I want to apply this color again back over here, keep your cursor anywhere in that paragraph and go click the normal again, and you can see that that changes also by default. Okay. So is anyone clear on this, what's called the basic style formatting, like how you apply one style throughout your document? Okay. Any questions so far on this? All good? Okay. So I'll go back to our original content. All right. Now, part of what in the styles, if you scroll through that, you will see something called heading 1, heading 2. There might be heading 3, heading 4, depending upon your version. There will be other stuff like title. There will be something called TOC, which stands for table of content, header, footer, and so on. Okay, you're going to see a bunch of things like this. When you have headings in your document, okay, let's say that this is my first paragraph in my document. I'm going to call it introduction. Okay. And let's say that over here, I'm going to have my subsection. I don't have a name for it right now, but I'm just going to call it subsection. Or let's call it spelling and grammar check. And let's put a few more paragraphs in there so it becomes easy now to understand how this works. So I'm going to copy a little bit more text from my paragraph earlier. Let's say I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste that in there. I'm going to call this what makes a good document. All right. Now, I would like to apply heading styles to this. Okay, like you have seen documents where there is a main title, then there's a subtitle, and you go different levels depending on how you want to space out your document. If you are in the habit of doing this, just you select this, you do bold, increase the font, and then apply some color, and you keep going through the next so-and-so, you're doing it wrong. Okay. Should do is use the style editor. And there's a reason to use that style editor as well. When you come over here, select the text that you have. Now, this is my top level heading, okay? Or let's say that we have one level above this. I'm going to call it OCYM Word or how to use Word. This is the primary title of my document. So you can see there's something called title over here. Okay, I would apply this style sheet and you see it used whatever font it was, let that be whatever it was. And I go to introduction, and introduction is going to say that's my first heading. I'm going to say introduction. And then spelling and grammar check, I would like this to be the next level heading. So I'll say heading 2 here. And what makes a good document, heading 2. So now I have one title. I have one heading 1 and then 2 heading 2s. Now I look through this document and say, you know what, I don't like the color of this. I don't like the font of this. I like this to be a little different. You can change that. Let's say the only thing I want to change is I want to make the letters a little more farther apart. Okay. In Word, there is a way to do that. You go to your font and think about, something that you want to change in a document. And what you want to change is associated with the dialog box that opens pertaining to that. So if you want to change something font specific, where would you look for it? In the font dialog. If you want to change something that is paragraph specific, where would you look for it? In paragraph dialog. So if I come here now to the font dialog, go to what's called advanced. If you click on advanced, you can see the additional things called character spacing. Okay. So right now you can see this font uses what's called a condensed spacing. That means the letters are closer to each other. Let's say I want to make this expanded. So I can click from condensed, go to expanded, and let's put a little bit number, so 0.7. So you can see how the letters changed a little bit. It made a little more wider. If let's say I want to make it a little more wider, okay, keep going a little bit more. I want to say, let's go, a little bit more bigger, 1.5. So it doesn't change it much for this specific font, but depending on what font you pick this. Now, let's say that I want to now save this as my, because I don't want to go back and have to redo this again. So I learned earlier, how would I now keep this as my title format? What would I do? Someone? Huh? Okay, I right click on my title and I say update title to match selection. So if I click on that, now anytime I use title, it's going to have this in there. All right. Same thing. This is my heading 1. But you notice that between heading 1 and heading 2, there's not much difference in the way the font is and the color is. So I would like to have some difference between them, right? So I can come here to heading 2 and I say modify. And I want to change the color. Let's say we change the color from that to purple. So it becomes distinguishable that there's a difference between two. If I say OK now, you can see that anywhere in the document where I had heading 2, it automatically changed. I didn't have to touch anything. So if you have, let's say, a 100-page report and you're now making changes, one click and it changed everywhere to the document. Okay. All right. So are we all clear on font styling, paragraph, and styling? These 3 things are OK with everyone? All right. So the next thing I'd like to go through, now, some of the features that I'm going to talk to are kind of co-mingled with each other. Like there is a topic on table of contents that I would like to talk about, but that makes use of heading styles. So when I come to table of contents, I'll show you how using heading styles is useful in that feature. All right. All right. Next thing that we're going to is, let's see, where is it? What's called paste special features. Okay. Have you all had this situation where let me go and copy like a web content? Okay. I'm going to copy a text from the web. Yeah, let me. Okay, I took a paragraph from a, hold on. Oh, okay, 1 second. I need to pick another web page. 1 second. Sorry, give me 1 moment. I'm just trying to find a page that's got unusual web formatting so that I can paste it over here and show you the difference. Okay, there you go. So I copied some text from a web page. Okay, I copied some text from a web page, and we do this often, right? We have to turn in a homework report, and why sit and worry about writing a report? We just copy content from the web, chat GPT, whatnot, and put it, right. No, don't do that. Okay. I, I know we're tempted to do that, but we do that. And I took that and I pasted in my Word document. Okay. When you paste it, now what happened? You saw that whatever formatting we had in our web document, it took all that formatting and it put it in here. Okay. The reason it does that because Word and applications like this is what's called a rich editor. That means whatever styles you copied the content with, it'll take that styles and simply dump everything into this Word document. Okay. If you do that, the problem is that now you have to go and you have to click everything and you have to correct how things look. Okay. Instead of that, when you go to paste, there are three default options it provides over here. One is called keep source formatting. That means you're aware that, okay, whatever I copied from, I want to keep it that way, keep my source formatting. The other option is destination formatting, or now they call it merge formatting. It means that it'll take the text and it'll put that using what styles are available in this document. And the third one, which I typically use because I find that the most cleanest way to do, is called keep text only. That means it will copy the text in there, but it stripped out any formatting or anything that it brought from the other side. All of that is removed. Only the text is pasted in here. So this is a useful tool to use when you use Word, is these what's called special paste options. There is also, if you go to paste special, depending on what you copied, it will provide you with various options on how to insert that content in there. Let's say you went to Excel and you select a table over there and you come and put it here. When you click paste special, it will give you a different set of options as versus to, let's say you picked a picture. If you copy a picture and try to insert it, it'll give you a set of options and likewise. Okay. So what I wanted to highlight over here are the different paste options in Word. All right. Now that we have done that much, I'm going to move to the next tab, which is the insert. Okay, in insert now, you're going to see there's obviously a whole bunch of features in here. But what I want to start with is a feature I've seen a lot of people do when you create documents. Is let's say that now you want to create your next content, which is this paragraph, and you want to put it in the next page. I've seen a lot of people, what they do is they do this. You keep doing that until you get to the next page, and that's how you start your document. The problem with doing this is if you came back over here and let's say, okay, I want to make this paragraph a little bit more bigger. And I decided, okay, I had one more paragraph over here. I added that content. What's going to happen to the text that was below it? It pushes everything down. Okay, so if I go to the next page, you can see now it created all the space over here. Now, what do I have to do? I have to come back and now delete those spaces. So please don't press enter until you get to the next page. There's a much more cleaner way to do that. Let me bring it back to how it was. Okay, this is my paragraph. You would go to your insert and you click what's called page break. You click page break, it pushes everything that was at that cursor point to the next page. Okay, now the advantage of doing this is if I went back in and I selected this text, and let's say I'm adding another 2 paragraphs. This is my first paragraph. This is my second paragraph. The other way, all the text would have been pushed down. In this case, if you look, that text stays right over there. Nothing changed because you specifically put something called a page break in there. Okay. Now there's a pitfall to this. If you're not careful about how you're using it, I can keep inserting paragraphs over here. Okay. And let's say I'm come to the end of my page. You see that's the bottom of my page. So if I insert my next line, the way this paragraph is set is it wants to keep all the paragraph content together. So it pushed that paragraph to the next page. But now what happened to the paragraph that was below that? That got pushed to the third page, right? Because I put a page break over there. So how do I know, where all these page breaks are in my document? There's nothing visually showing me what a page break is, right? So there's a very powerful secret weapon in here. And this little icon over here called show hide. Okay. Show hide. It's simply called show hide. If you click on it, you will notice that certain characters came in your document. Okay. What each of these characters indicates is this is, for example, a page break. No, sorry, a paragraph break that's got a backwards P on it. Okay. If you put a space in your document, even that space gets recorded as a dot in there. Now, this is not part of the document. If you print out your document, this is not going to show up on your document. It will not come in your printed view. This show hide simply allows you to know how your document is formatted. Now, the first time you use this show hide, you will find it so irritating that you just want to turn it off. But if you use it, like me, I will never type a document without this turned off. I mean, without it turned on. I like to use it with it turned on because I know exactly what is formatted and where things are formatted. So if I go down right now, you will see that this is a paragraph space. So it lets me know that, okay, I moved text to the next paragraph, just move to the next paragraph, this next paragraph. You see this thing called page break in here? That tells you now, oh, there's a page break in there. That's why all my text is getting pushed to the next page. So you can actually visually see now where I put my page break in there. If you turn this off, there's no indication. Nothing tells you where that page break is. So I'll come back to the page break. Now, when you see anything like this is not something that you can edit. It's just a symbol put in there by Word. But I can go take my cursor to the start of it. Let's say I want to get rid of this page break. I decide I don't want to use it. Just take your cursor to the start of it, press the delete button. It deletes that. And then because the page break is removed, everything gets pulled up along with it. All right. So that's your show hide and your page break feature as well. Now, there are other things like, for example, if you want to add a blank page, you can do that. If you want to add a pre-formatted cover page, you can use one of the styles available. Again, I'll let you explore those features because they're all like all, the pretty features of Word. Okay. The next thing is inserting tables. Okay, so I'm going to delete all of this text. And let's say I am going to delete all of this. I want to now insert a table over here. All right. Now, I'm sure most of you have done tables in Word. Okay, there's two ways you can do it. One, you do it through Word itself, or you can do it through Excel. And you can take the Excel table and just put it in Word. Let's say I want to insert a table over here. It's as simple as going to table, and you can predefine, okay, how many rows and columns you want. Okay, I think in Google it does the same thing. There's a selector that goes and picks it. So let's say I want to have a 4-column table with, let's say, 5 rows in there. Okay. Now I make this, and then I'm going to call this my column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. Okay. And in here, I'm going to have some text in there, some random text. So these are my headers, okay, which means my heading row. And under that, I'm going to have content. So if I want to, let's say, add some formatting to make this look like that is the header row, what do I do? I can, for example, I can put a bold style to it. I can make that center aligned. Okay, I can add some coloring to it. So I can make this coloring like that. Okay. Instead of all that, you can click on a table and you should see. This makes it hard to. Okay, there you go. There all the way. You're going to see a new thing open up in this, what's called the ribbon bar or your toolbar, something that says something related to table. Do you see that on your Word? You should be able to see that, right? If you click inside your table, if you click outside your table, that goes away. If you click inside your table, or if you select your entire table, you're going to see something called table design, table layout. So if I click on my table design, you can use what's called pre-formatted table styles. So pull down the table, and you can see there are some predefined styles for me. If I'd like to use one of this, I can go ahead and use one of this. Let's say you want to use this style. So if you use this style, you can see now how your header is already formatted for you. Your rows have got different colors. So if I put, let's say, another row, it's going to alternate the colors automatically on its own. So I'm going to call this, say, row 1, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. Okay. Let's say I want to now, I decide I want to delete row 2. The advantage with using all these predefined formatting is if I deleted that row 2, I can go here and say, there's a delete. There's a delete over here, and I'm going to say delete that row. Okay, if I delete the second row, the colors will not be blue and white. It will correct the colors on its own to where the color formatting is now maintained properly. Okay, so I can then apply any other style I want. Let's say I want to apply this style. You can see the style changed. Now let's say I don't like the way how I have one orange, one white, one orange. To your left over here, you can say something called table style options. Okay, and the table style option will let you pick. For example, if I unselect banded rows, it removes that coloring option light. Now you have banded rows, you have banded columns if you want. There's something called a header row and a first column. So if I remove header row, there's no more a header row in this. Let's say I don't care about a header row. Then you can use the one without a header row. But let's say I want to use a header row, but I don't like how this first column is being bolded out, because sometimes you want the first column generally is your main indicator in your table, right? But if you don't want that, remove what's your first column. Then it removes all that bold character out of it. There's also something called last column. So last column is, let's say you're creating a financial table, okay, and you put a table in there. Your rightmost side is, okay, all my line items, let's say for months, January to February, for I don't know, food and snacks is this much amount, and you want to highlight that number. You can pick what's called a last column. Now in this case, if I were to put some say number in here, say 450, okay, you can see how the formatting of that changed. Okay, and let's say this, let's put some round numbers in here, 100. Let's put this as 400. And then in my last column, I'm going to say total. And I'm going to write the total over here. 950, right? Okay. So you have something called a total row. So if you click on the total row, you can see how it made that look a little visually different from the rest of the rows in your table. Okay. So again, this is how you can change formatting. Now, if you click on the table styles that you had, this is the one that I used, for example, right now. It's highlighted in that square around it. And let's say that I like this style, but I want to change a few things in there. Similar to what you did with the fonts, you can click on modify table style, and then you have the flexibility to change whatever you want to change in there. Okay. The minute you change something, all of those get applied to that table. All right. Okay. So that's using in Word. Now you can also use tables from, say, I have some data from Excel and I want to bring it over to Word, and I want to keep that data in there. So let's, Excel is not part of what we're doing today, but for demonstration purposes, I will say open up an Excel window. And I'm going to stay a blank document. And let's say for a category amount. Simple table with just two food. Give me some church categories that I can write on other than food. Food in there, thank you very much. Subscription. Okay, there you go. Subscription. 400. Okay, let's say travel. 200. Okay, very simple table over here, right? Now I have this table, and let me save this table right now before I can start using it. I'm just going to put it in my desktop. Okay, so I've saved that document in there right now. Okay, now what I'm going to do is let's say I want to apply, take this table and paste it in my other table. All you do is copy paste, just like how you would normally do, right? So I'll come here, I do paste. Now, when you did a paste, it copied the data over, okay? And it copied it with whatever is the default formatting that you apply. Now, if let's say I came in from here and I applied a bold in here, and let's say these are in some color. If I copied it the way it is right now, bring it into the document, you will see like whatever was the formatting that was from your source content, it gets applied to your destination content. But let's say that I want to paste it as a table, but I don't want to take whatever color in the original source. I want to keep it just plain text. What would I do? What's a paste option I can use to do that? Paste destination, exactly. So right now, if I come in here, I'm going to copy this again, and you can notice you paste. You see how it's given me a lot more options here? If I go to paste special, you'll see that unlike the previous one, there's a lot more content in here, because what object you copy is what Word decides it's going to give you as your paste options. So if I come in here right now, I can say, okay, I want to copy this, but I don't want to keep source formatting. I want to use my destination formatting. And in destination formatting, the default style for your table is just a black box with white lines and, I'm sorry, black lines, white background. That's the default that you use in the thing. Now, if let's say while copying the table over, and I don't know if Zubin is going to cover this in Excel, but are you doing linked tables as part of your content? Okay, you can add it, but I'll cover it anyway because it concerns Word as well. Let's say that you are creating a report, annual report for our church, right? And you have an Excel document in where you have all your line items of what you're copying. You're copying content from there, putting it here, copying content, putting here. After 1 month, you decide, oh, I want to go back in and update my Excel spreadsheet. You can make all your corrections, update all your numbers in there. Now you have to take all that content and copy them again into Word, right? In order to make the numbers updated. So instead of that, what you can do is, again, you copy this over here, and there's something called link and use destination styles. So if you say link and use destination styles, now this table is linked to this document over here. So any change you make over here will change in my Word document as well. So let's say I change this from 100 to 300. Okay. If I go back and I update link, okay, you'll see how the numbers changed. All right. What is important though is you got to keep that source file with you, right? Because let's say I'm going to go in here, I'm going to close this document that I did, and I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm just going to delete that Excel file. Okay, let's put it here where you can see it. I'm going to take this file and I'm going to say delete. Because let's say I wasn't aware that I was using that spreadsheet. If you go back to your Word document now, and at some point you say, okay, let me go and update it, it's going to throw you an error saying that could not find the linked file. Now, that was a silent error, but it could not update the file because it couldn't find that Word document in there. So this is the only thing to be careful about is if you use linked documents, make sure you put them all in one place where you can always access them. All right. So I'll keep that in there. So we were in insert. So we covered tables as well. All right. And you can see over here now there's an option where you can directly insert an Excel worksheet. Okay. So if let's say I come back in here and let me undo what I had just deleted earlier. Okay. So okay, and this is that file in here. I here and I can say table. Oh wait, no, I'm here a different one. Never mind. Go back. Uh, Okay, my bad. What that feature I was trying to show is if you, let's say you want to insert a spreadsheet into your document itself. Okay, that's where you would do table Excel spreadsheet. So what it does is it creates a small spreadsheet inside your document. If let's say you want to use that feature, that's how you do it. Okay, next is pictures, shapes, icons, and so on. Now you've all inserted pictures. You use pictures in your Word document, right? Let's go and insert a picture into our Word document. Now you can either select it from your this device, from stock images or online pictures, whichever you pick. Let's say I pick stock images. And let's say I want to insert this picture. Nice picture, right? I insert it. Now that's going to insert a picture in here. Okay. And we're going to keep that in there. Let's say I want to make it a little smaller, bigger, whatever it is that I want to do. Same thing would be if you went in and you insert a picture, you can pick this device and you can pick any picture from your device. Even when you copy, paste, and put things in there, you can select a picture from a web page, come and paste in there. All that's good. Okay, I'm going to keep this table in here. I'm going to keep this picture in here. And let's say I'm going to add a couple more pictures because there's another feature I would like to show at some point. Let's cancel this. Let's go to stock images. And I'm just going to pick another 2 pictures to add. Okay, you have 1 picture here. Okay, so I have another picture in there. All right. So we got 3 pictures in there, and I'll put a little bit of space in there. Okay, so now we have 3 pictures. So that's how you insert pictures. And the reason I'm keeping those pictures in there, I've got one more thing to show you of how to caption pictures correctly. Okay, and we'll use these pictures as a reference. Same thing for using, say, shapes. You can, in Word, you can come and put shapes. This is more relevant in PowerPoint because in PowerPoint, that's how you want to do. But let's say I want to put a little star over here. You have some predefined shapes here in Word. You can come here and put in a certain object in there. Okay. And I can have this picture. Now, once you insert a picture, this is probably something important that I want to show. You will see a little icon pop up in here. Okay. That icon is called your layout options. And this is probably the biggest joke about Word is once you insert a picture in Word, it decides where it wants to put the picture. But it's not true. It's because it's the way how you select the layout option. Now, this same option over here, which is this layout option, is also there on the picture format part of your toolbar. So if you click on a picture, it brings out a picture format. And then in picture format, you see something called position. All right. Now, I'll show you what the different options are and how we can use it. By default, you have this thing called inline with text. And inline with text means that let's say you had this picture in here. And I'm going to make it smaller to make it easier to see. I'm going to go and paste it in here. All right. Or let's say I'll paste it between these 2 paragraphs. That makes it easier. What did they do with the picture? It kept the picture in that same line where you had your paragraph text. Okay. Now let's say that that's not what I wanted to do. What I want to do is I want to make sure that the picture will always be not with the lines. I want that you can have the text above it or text below it, but I don't want to have the text in the same line as the picture. So you can change the layout option, and you have a layout option that says top and bottom. If you click on top and bottom, it will automatically format this to where your text will always be either above it or below it. Let me put this in there. Okay, there you go. Above and below. So you will never have text in the same line as that actual object. Now, depending on what you're doing, let's say I have this star in here, right? I'm going to take this star and I'm going to move it over here. You can see how the star always moves in front of this text, right? Why is that? Because if you click on this option, you can see it says it selected the in front of text option. Now, depending on what you insert, Word will by default apply some features to it, which you can obviously change. Okay. And now let's say I want to keep this to where I want to have this little star. Okay. And I'm going to put it in here. And I like the star to be there, but I want the text to be around it. Okay, I don't want the text to be in front of it. I don't want it to be back of it, but I like the text to be around it. You can click on the layout option and you see there's something called square. If I click square, you see how the text moved around to fit that star in there. So if I move the star, you can see I can get it in a position where text is around it, but your picture or the symbol that you put is clearly visible. Okay. So this is useful. I know sometimes when you do, for example, term reports and you have one paragraph text in there, you want to show a picture just to the side of it. You can insert the picture in there to where it doesn't flow into your text and pictures separate. Okay. So I think you're clear with layout options now, right? All right. Next, if you go to the pictures, I want to see if I missed anything. These are features now available in Word. I find them very useful, especially like when you're writing some reports. If you want to add an icon of something, Word has this thing now called icons. You can click in there and you can use one of the predefined icons. They're very nice when you want to do formatting for your documents. It generally pulls that icon from